All right, it's 12:02. Let's get this thing going. So, welcome to the Antiva Lunch and Learn for June 2023. I'm going to be your host, Ted Brown, Director of Product Management here in Antiva. And today we are going to be talking about Microsoft 365 consulting and why it's important to you and your business. I've been asked a handful of times about the importance of Microsoft 365 consulting, why do we need to have an expert come in? I've seen this on the lower side as well, employee set, maybe a startup that's just starting to get into the business and want to actually do things themselves a little bit. But I've also seen on the higher end of companies coming on board that might have had 365 implemented years ago and not having wanted to have a chance to actually look at what maybe some of the new nuances of 365 offerings out there. 365 has a whole bunch of different options and applications they can be delivered to their client set employees that they might not be taking advantage of because they've been utilizing the system for many years to come. And also on the other side, for the clients that are just starting up, it's very easy for a person that has a little bit of technical know-how to sign up through 365 services, go online, office.com, pop in a credit card, purchase a couple licenses, maybe watch a YouTube video how to set up their email, and voila, they have email coming into the system and they're set up to go. But maybe they're not set up in the best practice scenario, not have looked at maybe the compliance levels that should be turned on within an organization and making sure they're set up for growth. So I really think there's an important level of having somebody with an expertise need to come in behind the system and make sure it's set up in that fashion. And that comes down to Microsoft 365 consulting. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. We're going to go a little bit over the overview of 365, very brief. I'm pretty sure most people are aware about what the system is. Go through what is 365 consulting, a little bit of how Microsoft Consulting can help you, and then the benefits of going through Microsoft Consulting services. Like other webinars we have done, please use the Q&A section for any and all questions, and I'll answer all the questions at the end of this presentation. Also, if anybody has any ideas for any future lunch and learns that you want to learn more about, something you can bring back to you and your staff at your office, please put it into the chat section as well. I'm always open up to new ideas to present to you. And we do have a couple slots of Q4 that we're still building out. So if something comes up, you want to learn more about it, please put it in and we'll go ahead and consider it for future lunch and learns. Okay, so what is Microsoft 365? Microsoft 365 is a suite of cloud-based productivity tools, which include Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, and much, much more. Really what the bread and butter of 365 is what's going on behind the system, the ability for them to create a comprehensive set of tools that allow for communication, collaboration, productivity. You have your Outlook, which gives the front end face to what all the emails, inbound, outbound emails are going on with all the security layers behind in the scenes, maybe for a data leak protection going on there, or the anti-spam, the anti-malware that's all occurring within that system. And then leading over to more of the collaboration tools, your SharePoint, to be able to have Teams meeting at any point, one-on-ones or a actual webinar like we're doing here as well, going through maybe having audio conferencing brought in, phone PBX, and then productivity tools laid on top of it, your Excel, your SharePoints, anything along those lines. So there's a wide range of tools available to you at your fingertips within the 365 ecosystem that allows you to access your information regardless if you're in your office, working from home, maybe on vacation, working from a Mac, working from a PC, tablet, Android, doesn't matter. You have the ability to access this information anywhere you go securely and effectively, as long as it's been implemented and designed the correct way. So let's get into a little bit of what Microsoft 365 Consulting is. So Microsoft 3 Consulting specializes in implementing and optimizing the 365 solution set that is designed specifically for you as an organization. In order to do this, a Microsoft Consulting has to have an in-depth knowledge of all the applications, integrations, and best practice to make this happen. And just kind of give you an idea of what this can look like. Microsoft 365 has a huge wide range of different SKUs they offer, and each one of them has different kind of buckets of applications that are available within these SKUs. So at the top of this chart, you can see here, you might hear some familiar phrases. You got your Microsoft 365 E3s, your E5s, your Office 365, E1s, E3s, E5s, your mobility suites, Windows 11. And each one of these contains certain functionality that can be deployed to your end users, depending on what the needs are of that organization. You have some of the earlier needs that people come to. Hey, I want to be able to install applications on my machine. I don't want to use web-based apps. I'm tired of purchasing, large capital expenditures of Office to be deployed in my Office suite. I want to pay more of a monthly operation expenditures and have that come through. great. You can do Microsoft as a standard all day long and have the applications installed on everyone's computer, making sure they're at the latest version and have all of the latest updates available to them, the feature sets available, and not having the need to go purchase your Office 2013, go to 2016, and each edition after that. It's always going to be up to date with the version you need to do your type of work. And then leading into more of, hey, the email and calendar sharing, again, more of the bread and butter of what the 365 system is, what type of size limits are required on people's mailboxes. You need to have a 50 gigabyte mailbox, or maybe the VPs or people that are getting a whole bunch of email needs to have a larger mailbox size, the 100 gigabyte limit, unlimited archiving, going down that path and understanding which one of the buckets of applications allow for that to occur. But then you get to more of the sophisticated levels of setting up your SharePoint services, making sure people are set up for more than just document repository. Hey, SharePoint's great for putting your documents in there, but you can actually build workflows and widgets to be able to work more effectively and communicate things together. Build up maybe an internal intranet, or maybe even something publicly facing you want to go to your clients with. But having the understanding of the capabilities of what each one of these buckets can do can be an important first step in making sure it's implemented and designed correctly. And it's kind of hard to get that idea just basically looking at kind of this slice and dice view here, just maybe going online and doing some research. Stepping further, you get down into more of the automation and power apps that Microsoft can harness, being able to do a low code, no code solution of trying to automate rudimentary tasks that people are doing on a daily basis that would save them time, because it's something that happens the same way every time, or maybe tying it into an ERP solution of collecting reports, bringing it into Power BI, and be able to making sure key people in your organizations have the ability to have a dashboard with key functionality of your KPIs that you set up for your company, and being able to set it up to the way it's optimized within the system. And then it gets into more of the important piece of here is information governance. How are you controlling your data? What type of data labels, maybe sensitivity labels, need to be set up so that you're protecting your system correctly. So if a breach does occur, compliance levels and encryption has been put onto that document that might be leaked out there, and no one can access it because it has been encrypted. No one has the keys to access that information, but that first has to set up being created within the system, having the labels created within the system, and having employees trained to know when to place those labels in order to actually hit this. So just because it's a bucket item here doesn't mean it's instantly enabled. You have to have the expertise and the know-how how to guide somebody from step A to step Z. And then lastly, get into more of the information protection, threat protection level, and coming into the identity and access management, a whole bunch of different things within this swath of applications available to you to really do more of a conditional access of locking down where people can actually try to log into the system. So your Microsoft 365, you have the ability to log in from anywhere, but you can actually lock things down with that identity and access management and make it more of a zero trust mentality, only privileged access management control to make sure that people have the right identity access to access certain things and completely control it from the system. So it really has a lot of in-depth information that you need to get into to understand what the possibilities are of 365, to really have a good understanding of when a client comes to you and say, I have this business need, how can I solve it? Of taking the options available to you and matching it together with what's in the 365 ecosystem. And that's what Microsoft 365 Consulting can do to you. And for me, that comes into the first step of here, how it can help, is really assessing your organization's needs. Aligning the technology with your business goals is the first and foremost important part of this, and not the reverse way around. Now, let's take a really cool piece of technology and finding a goal to achieve for the company. Let's find the pain points that you're experiencing today. Where can we optimize and make sure you're getting the most out of your employee set, and make sure their productivity increases with the technology available to them within the 365 ecosystem? How can we match that up? This comes down to really of kind of finding the stakeholders within your organization to really define what the objectives and the business goals going forward, and then creating that requirement documentation and making sure that we hit each one of those bullet points that come up within these conversations. Maybe we can figure out a way to help out with streaming workflows and processes. Again, coming down to more of that Power Automate, Power Apps. Maybe there's a accounting system going on that there is an invoicing team that is always having to put in an Excel document, pulling from report form every morning to get the reports up correctly from an ERP system or something along those lines. let's build in those workflows and use Power Automate to actually automate that process so it can just be a click of a button. The information's there and popped into a report. And that employee can now take that information, that time available to do other type of work, and no longer just that kind of rudimentary data entry task that's necessary to get the reports available to whomever needs to see that within the organization. And that comes down to really designing tailored solutions to the organizations based on your company's goals and objectives, and finding out who the key stakeholders within the organizations to set up those requirement docs ahead of time. Now, once you have all that created and you have designed the solution where this is going to go, the next key part of this is how you're going to actually migrate and implement the solutions to get from A to B. And this really is make sure that you're assisting with this, making sure it's a seamless integration and minimizing the disruptions to the employee set. There's nothing worse than having this new shiny toy not work the first day once it's implemented, and your employees are not able to get the same work done they were able to do the day before. You don't want to start off this experience into a negative aspect day one, day three, week one, where people feel slowed down and cumbered by the system that just been in place. People are always hesitancy of change, and always there's a fear there. And so if you can control that fear and make sure that it is set up successfully for day one, you'll have a set of champions making sure that people understand why we made this change and why it was necessary to make the adjustments to go into a Teams collaboration, go into SharePoint document library instead of putting things onto a shared system locally and having a VPN when you work from home. So making sure that you actually set this up properly is key. And I think the way to do this going forward is making sure you have the correct training and adoption rate. And this starts with change management process. And that's key for when you're doing this technology adoption, when people shift from working on-prem to going to the cloud, working on their laptop to make sure they have all the documents, to making sure it's in OneDrive and coordinating that effort. And it really comes down to make sure you have the correct training and adoption rate in place. And I think that can come down to as far as working on tool sets of delivering systems like e-training and having a steps ahead of time before it's implemented, making sure your teams go through some sort of training program within a video-based training that we offer called clip training that can set up a campaign to your end users of saying, hey, here's how you utilize Teams, or here how we're rolling out Power BI, here's how you can actually do reports. And within a training adoption rate, you can go in here and select in what people need to actually take a look at. Maybe you want to have a Teams training go through and showing people how to work within channels now within Teams. When do I use a Teams channel versus a Teams chat versus email? And set up that policies in place for internal collaboration work of how things need to flow as a business, and make sure you have the operational flow together along with the training here provided. So when it starts day one, they know those terms, they know what a channel is, they know what the Teams chat button is, they know where to go for the calendar. And this is all video-based training that can be set out ahead of time to help mitigate those fears, and people have the understanding how to utilize the system day one instead of learning on the job going forward. So I think a key part of making sure things are successful is having that training and adoption rate. And after you do the training, adoption, you implement it, people are up and running, people are happy, they see the productivity level rise. It goes into more of the ongoing support and optimization. Just because it's set up correctly day one doesn't mean day 90 things might change. Microsoft's always rolling out new solutions within the system, such as, I think for me, the most anticipated one coming out is going to be Microsoft Copilot, which is going to have some AI, ChatGPT, a lot of AI built into it. And how's that going to feed into your day-to-day productivity? How's this going to be able to work in your workflow? And that's where this optimization, ongoing support comes in, of suggesting improvements as needed as Microsoft develops the solution set to make it more enhanced and have different options available to you that you can turn on and have available to you. Just like beforehand, when Microsoft started to have their basic anti-spam solution, they rolled out their anti-threat protection with, now it's called Office Defender 365. There are certain things that need to be enabled within it to harness the power, to make sure it's available. Your link and attachment protection program, your phishing training, your phishing prevention systems need to be actually set up and selected for your system to be able to use. But just because you have it available to you doesn't mean it's actually enabled and run behind the scenes. So it really comes down to make sure it's optimized and have that ongoing support to let you know what's available. This comes down for the benefits of 365 consulting, really making sure that you've designed the system that really focuses on streamlined collaboration, really harnessing the power of your Microsoft Teams and SharePoints and OneDrive. Your Microsoft Teams is a really good place to make sure you have that one-to-one communication channel, talking with one another, doing the quick chats back and forth. SharePoint repositories, be able to have your document libraries put up into the online system where people can access securely from wherever they need to, no longer having to have the VPN connection back to the tunnels of the office, being able to work from home really easily and have everything synced to their machines working through OneDrive. Being able to seamlessly collaborate with people through real-time communications of working on documents together. If I wanted to, we could have had people working on this presentation together and having changes happen at the same time. So really collaborating in real time, which you didn't have those benefits before. So making sure you have a system set up that actually can harness the power of what Microsoft 365 has in there for you, and potentially discarding applications that you are already currently utilizing and paying for in a different fashion. So you may be utilizing a Zoom or a Calendarly or something along those lines that no longer need to be paid, because you can do Microsoft bookings and Teams in Microsoft Office Suite to have people book meetings for you right straight through there. You no longer need to have Calendarly. Slack and Teams have a lot of similarities. You don't have to pay another fee for your Slack solution. You can pay for your Microsoft E1. You can have Business Basic. All those include the Teams channel in there. They can have that same functionality at a pretty low rate. So really understanding what applications you're utilizing for collaboration, and potentially displacing those with the ecosystem applications within the 365 tool set. And this will come with enhanced productivity, making sure you have your workflows, your powerful tool stacks, employees will be more effectively accomplish more within the system itself. And hearing that there might be some potential developmental needs on the back end, which can be built into the system utilizing Power Apps and the Microsoft Power Platform and Automate, of doing a low code, no code solution to you, of actually harness the power of automation and giving time back to you and your employees. Now, all this can't be done without having security and compliance at the forefront of your thoughts of things being put together. So as you design the solution, you make sure that the organization is set up in a protected and compliant way to the industry regulations, and make sure that they have adhered to those policies. So just because you have set up an enabled solution doesn't mean that conditional access has been set up to make sure that people can only access from a certain location. Maybe you need to go into what I mentioned before is your information protection, now called Purview, making sure that you have labels and sensitivity labels set up on your documentation to make sure they have encryption enabled on them at default. So no matter what, if anything gets leaked out there, you're protected and covered because those have been set up from the get-go. Any type of data governance and compliance management aspect can be put into this, but it first starts with understanding what the business needs are from a security and compliance level to be able to talk and design the solution and make sure that the companies understand what the options are and what the ramifications of the options are once those are enabled, and designing them accordingly. And finally, I get into more of the cost savings. I see big mistakes of clients who's buying, hey, I'm just need E3, everyone gets an E3. And it's a $23 license, but not everyone in the organization might need all the components that come with an E3. So really having a good idea of what each different groups are utilizing on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis, and having an idea of what type of functionality each one of these SKUs can utilize, can then start kind of deciding maybe this group only needs an E1. They don't need to have Office installed on the computers, or maybe you have frontline workers that don't require a huge amount of email. You can get away with a really low loss license called a Microsoft F Series license, a frontline license, which can be around less than $5 a person. We'll give them their Teams capability, their SharePoint location, so we can see files, policies, procedures, but they don't not on email all day long because they're working face to face with your customers. And there's a way to design the solutions to take advantage of that instead of having to pay $15, $20 per month extra for each one of your employees, and really stream down the cost of Microsoft 365 and make sure that you get the complete ROI out of the system. And also the ongoing effort after that of making sure it still meets your financial needs going forward as Microsoft introduces new solutions into their ecosystem and designs. Who knows, they might have a G series coming up next. And what does that have to offer? How can I understand the benefits of that next offering coming out and correctly communicate it to clients that have that need, and design the solution successfully to make sure that their end users are as productive, more productive, and getting the cost savings that are included with it. And so finally, it comes down for me is the checklist here is just making sure that for Microsoft 365 consulting, the successful part of this is aligning the technology with your business goals. And then finally, with this is you're enhancing productivity and collaboration. Going into Microsoft 365 should enhance your workflow, should provide more collaboration amongst your staff, and making sure you're taking advantage of all the solution sets that have that capability within the 365 system. Streamlining workflows and processes, making sure that you have the understanding of what the Power Apps can do for a business, of really taking advantage of the automation. I do think the next couple of years is going to be how can we automate as much as possible to get the most out of our employees, and that's going to start with coming down to this low code, no code solutions that are built into the Power App solutions that people that don't have a technical background can really put together an easy widget or a process flow to allow them to get their functionality done on an easier basis. Going into more robust security compliance. Security is always on the forefront of the minds of business owners to make sure they're not the next one in the paper. And are they set up successfully with their system? If you've gone to 365, you will still want to make sure that you've checked the boxes for security. Can't talk enough about your Intune policies, your data governance, your conditional access, your information protection for the labels for compliances, and making sure that people understand their implications of each one of those solutions and how it can benefit their company. And then going into more of the cost savings and ROI of the solutions you select. And then finally, I think the most important is making sure your employees are set up for success. The effective change management and adaptive strategies in here put into place can make sure that day one, day three, day five, the clients, your employees feel happy with the decision made, feel more productive, and can see the benefit of the change of why they went from A to B and go in that direction. And that's all I have for today, going through the benefits of a Microsoft 365 consulting. Happy to take any questions out there if anyone has any topics they want to talk about, or as I mentioned, if you have any topics you want to learn more about, please put them into the Q&A section. Happy to take any and all suggestions and put them forward to future lunch and learns. We'll go ahead and keep this open for Q&A section. I don't see any other questions come through yet, but if anyone has questions, please throw them into the chat. Happy to answer them. All right, that looks like it's going to be it for today. I don't see any questions coming through. I thank you all for joining me today and learning more about Microsoft 365 Consulting. I look forward to talking to you guys all next month. I believe our topic is going to be about Excel tips and tricks, one of my favorite applications. I can't wait to talk to you all about it. I hope you'll have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Bye.